everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everyone is having a wonderful week. My name is Riley and I'm the Director of Customer Success here at RightCapital. Welcome to our Back to Basics Part 5. The goal of this webinar series is to provide a more in-depth overview of best practices and provide you with insights into our different planning modules. So on today's agenda, we will be reviewing our cash flow income needs, going over that, analyzing that in the cash flows. We'll be reviewing the impact of existing annuities. We'll go over proposing annuity purchases. And then a fan favorite is comparing and contrasting those annuity options. And as always, we will have a live Q&A at the very end. So if there's any questions throughout the webinar on anything RightCapital related, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer them at the very end. So before jumping into RightCapital, I do want to show everyone where you can access our previous Back to Basics content. So I'm going to switch gears and go over to our Help Center. So hold on one second. And here I am in our RightCapital Help Center. And at the very far left of the page, you will see under Training Videos and Webinars, we have our Webinars page. And here on this page, you'll see all of our upcoming webinars. You'll see our recurring training, and then towards the very bottom of this page, you will see our watch past webinars, and they are all listed here. So in early April, we hosted Back to Basics Part 1, and that was optimizing action items. We went over some important client settings. We also reviewed using data visuals to elevate your client presentations, and then we also went over leveraging RightCapital's essential resources. In our Back to Basics Part 2, we reviewed 5 essential tips for effective planning. We went over optimizing your workflows using our templates. We also went over some key features in the advisor portal, and then we also reviewed advisor analytics. On Part 3, we went over the Models tab. We went over our glide path options. We also reviewed how to create multiple plans, and then again, just went even deeper into optimizing your action items. And then lastly, Part 4, we reviewed overview of income options, and then as well as proposing income scenarios. So I highly recommend taking a look at that. Again, they are in our Help Center on the left-hand side of the page, just clicking into our webinars article, and then towards the very bottom, you will see all of the recordings here. So with that being said, today is Part 5, again, optimizing cash flows, looking at income needs, and then going over annuities. So I am going to switch my tab over to RightCapital, and then we're going to get started going over the cash flows. So I am going to go to Retirement up at the very top of my screen, and then I'm going to click into Cash Flows. Perfect. So the first place to start off really looking at cash flow needs is our Maps tab. So this is a great visual component of our cash flows. Our waterfall is that sand key diagram that allows you to select in any portion of the planning horizon or planning projection the income needs. So here, let's just say I'm going to go to 2023. This is a great way to show everything coming into the plan and where are all of those inflows going. So this is the best place to start off looking at total income, where is it all going, and then heading over to the Summary tab. So again, the Maps is just a visual component of what we show in the summary. So I always like to just kind of go over what our planning method is in RightCapital and what option you're using. It's super important to understand what we're doing with those excess cash flows to really understand the cash flow income needs. So here in my summary section on the cash flows, on the right-hand side of the page, you will see 2 columns, the spend unsaved cash flows and then the net flows column. So our default planning method in RightCapital is to spend unsaved cash flow. So what we do is take cash inflows minus cash outflows, and whatever is left over, if there's any excess cash flow, we assume that the client is spending that. So in this scenario, you'll see negative net flows. So the client is actually running into a deficit. But for example, if they did have something left over, we would see that in the spend unsaved cash flow. If you would like to change your planning method to cash flow based, where we automatically save and reinvest that excess cash flow, that can be done in the client settings. So up at the very top right of the screen, I'm clicking into the gear icon, and then I'm going into the individual settings. And then in the client's methodology tab on the left-hand side of the page, our first option is planning method, and that is where I can select cash flow based or modified cash flow. Goals-based planning is going to ignore income and expenses and give you that nice rough retirement picture, but our two most common is cash flow based and modified cash flow. So again, our planning method is how we treat excess cash flow in RightCapital. Our default planning method is modified cash flow, and that assumes that the client is spending the excess cash flow if they have it year over year. Cash flow based would be if the client is automatically saving that excess and reinvesting it into the taxable account. So that is very important just to understand what's happening in the cash flows to really understand the income need for the client. So I'm going to leave that as modified cash flow, and then I'm going to head back over to the retirement cash flow section. So if my computer will load today, sorry for the slow load time, let's go to retirement cash flows. And then we were just on that summary tab. Again, this is going to give you a great overview of cash inflows minus cash outflows and what's left over. Just a reminder to everyone that if a column header is underlined in the cash flows, you can click into it for more detail. So for example, if I would like to know what's making up that $127,000 figure under expenses in 2023, the expense section is underlined, so I can click into it, and then I can see what's making up that expense. Then let's say I want to know what that $5,373 worth of debt is. Debt is underlined, so I can click into it for more detail, and then I can see that that is Adam's credit card. If I'd like to go back to that previous debt screen, I can click expenses, and if I want to go back to that main summary, I can click summary at the very top left. So that is our summary tab, and then the best place to really see the income need is if I go over to the accounts tab in the cash flows. So on the far right of the page, I'm clicking into that accounts tab. And then here I can see all of the accounts that I have entered for the client. So this will be ending balance by accounts year over year. Again, all of the accounts are underlined, so I can click into it to see the account owner as well as the details. And let's just say they had two traditional IRAs. I could see Adam and Jackie and their individual accounts. So if I click this ending balance by accounts dropdown, I can see addition to accounts, I can see RMDs, I can see withdraw from accounts, and then I can see net cash flows. So a very popular section of the cash flows is to look at the withdraw from accounts section, and then I can easily see what is happening year over year. Our standard withdrawal in RightCapital is to pull from the client's taxable bucket first, then we tap into the tax deferred, and lastly, the tax-free bucket. And I always like to point out that when we are pulling from the client's tax deferred bucket, we are not picking one account to completely drain and then tap into the next. We are pulling proportionally from those however many tax deferred accounts that you have entered. So as you can see in this client plan, we are pulling from their taxable bucket until that gets depleted in 2033. And then we look to pull from their tax deferred, and you can see it's pulling proportionally versus just selecting that 401k to completely drain. So this is very helpful when you're looking at the cash flow income needs. You can really see what's happening to each account year over year and where are we pulling to go towards those negative net flows. So again, that summary tab is going to give you the general overview of everything coming in, everything going out, and then what's left over. Are we either spending that cash flow or are we saving and reinvesting? And then many advisors use the account tab to kind of aid that information and really show the client what's happening. So again, that is looking at the accounts tab. And then I'm clicking on that ending balance by accounts, and I'm using either addition RMDs, withdrawal from accounts, or even net cash flows to see everything coming in and everything going out on that account level. I also want to point out that we have this baseline. So you may see baseline. You may not see this in your client plans right now. This is another setting that you can add to the cash flows where you can bring in those scenarios to show the client the impact. For example, if you wanted to use or show the client what would happen to their cash flows if you use one of our pre-built model scenarios, being a bad decade followed by slow growth, or if you wanted to show them a flat 0% return or the ultimate stress test, you can add that here in the cash flows. If you do not currently see this and you'd like to add this to your client's cash flows, you can go back to those settings. So if I go all the way up to the very top right and click on that gear icon, and then if I go into settings, and then here in the client's methodology tab, if I scroll down towards the bottom, it is a checkbox that will show, or on the left-hand side of the page, that is allow display of scenario-specific cash flows. So traditionally, this will not be checked off, and we will just assume that the client's cash flow is a straight line projection. So they receive the same rate of return year over year. But if I check off this allow display of scenario-specific cash flows, I can introduce that level of volatility or a different scenario versus just showing the client having the same rate of return year over year. And just a reminder, you can always build out your own scenarios in the advisor portal, and that is done under the models tab. So again, I just want to go over that one more time. That is at the very top right of my screen. I'm just clicking that gear icon, then I'm clicking into settings, and then I am on the client's methodology tab, and I am scrolling down towards the very bottom to that checkbox that says allow display of scenario specific cash flows. And then I can always hover over the little information marks. It just goes over in more detail what that's doing. But again, just allowing you to add a level of risk or volatility to the cash flows versus just a straight line projection. Awesome. So that is the first step, retirement cash flows, looking at those cash flows, really seeing what's happening year over year to see what is the client's cash flow income needs. And then transitioning over to that, or kind of on top of that, is the annuity information, and really looking at, is an annuity, maybe the client has an annuity or you would like to propose an annuity, and really adding that into the plan to see if that is a solve for those income needs. So before I jump into adding annuities here and looking at the proposal, I always like to point out that we have an extremely helpful Help Center articles on all things annuities. So I'm just going to go into my other tab that I have at the very top of this page. And again, I'm in our Help Center. And the best way to get to this article is at the very top. I'm just searching annuities. And as you can see, we have lots of information on annuities. The most helpful article here is annuities, and that's the knowledge base. We also have frequently asked questions, and then we also have some one-off articles that go over annuity specifics, like annuity income strategy, for an example. But we'll go into that in a lot more detail. But I always like to just tell every advisor that we have this amazing Help Center article that goes over every type of annuity that you can enter in RightCapital. And then what's really nice is if on the right-hand side of the page, I'll see on this page, and let's say I wanted to add an indexed annuity. I can click on indexed annuity. It will bring me right to that section of the article. And then we have really nice tables that go over each field that you'll see in the data entry process, and then the description for what we're looking for, or kind of what that field is doing. So very helpful information. Again, that is in our Help Center, and that's just under annuities knowledge base. So I always have this pulled up as a separate tab when I'm doing the data entry on annuities, just so I can make sure that I know all of the descriptions and what we're asking for in each entry. So again, we have our variable, fixed, indexed, and then index variable annuities. Awesome. So that is our Help Center. I will transition back into my Adam and Jackie Sandler plan today. And then I'm going to start off in the profile section. And we have two ways to enter an annuity into RightCapital. So if you are creating the client from scratch, the first place you'll see an annuity option is in profile income. So if I'm in profile income, And then if I click on the blue Add Income dropdown, we will see an annuity option. So an annuity card that's entered in profile income is when I only want to model out the income coming from the annuity. So I'm not getting granular on what type of annuity it is, what type of withdrawals the client is taking. I'm only concerned with modeling out the income. So if, for example, this client had an annuity, I only want to model out the income coming into their plan. Let's just say they get $25,000 a year from this annuity. That is all I would see coming into the client's cash flow. It's just $25,000 a year with all of the information I've entered here. So it's not getting granular on the annuity information. We're not concerned about the type or any distribution. It's really just mapping out the income. So many advisors do not enter the annuity information here. They enter the annuity information in profile net worth. So I'm going to delete this card, and then I'm going to go over to profile and then net worth. And then on the right-hand side of my page, I'm just clicking the blue Add Account dropdown, and then I'm clicking into investment. The default taxable investment account will pop up here, but I just want to click on that account type dropdown where I see taxable account, and then I want to scroll down towards the bottom, and we'll have two options. Is it a qualified annuity or non-qualified? And then here I can enter all of the details. So the owner, the annuity type, variable, fixed, indexed annuity, or indexed variable annuity. The entry method, do I want to enter by total balance or do I want to enter by holdings/asset class? Then I'm going to add the total balance, and then I can customize that asset allocation. What's really important here in the annuity entry is the distributions. So by default, that will be set to regular withdrawals. So we will not automatically see a withdrawal from that annuity or map out that income. If the client needs to pull from it, we will. But I can click on that drop down. If they're annuitizing that, I can switch it over, or I can switch it over to lifetime income. And this is where I can get very granular on what that income will look like. So benefit base, roll-up rate, when is the income starting? Under income type, is that a percentage or an annual amount? Does that income type have an annual increase? Do I want to add the advisor-based fee or benefit-based fee? And then again, the entry method is just mapping out that asset allocation. So very important here. I would say the most important thing is how you're setting up the distribution. So again, I'm just clicking on that drop down. We have three options: regular withdrawal, annuitization, or lifetime income. So I'm going to switch this over to fixed annuity just to do this as a test. So I'm just going to title this Adams Fixed Annuity, and then I'm just going to leave this as regular withdrawals. And then let's just say this is 150,000. And then as soon as I press save, I'll see that in the client's net worth, and that is in their current plan. So now on to the fun part, is actually looking at the current plan versus proposing annuity options. So I'm going to head over to the retirement tab up at the very top, and then it will bring me to the analysis section. And then here we are on the probability side. So current plan versus proposed plan, all of the work that we're building out in the proposed plan is done down below in the action items. And if I click into it and scroll down, we have lots of ways to propose and look at comparing annuities for the client. So on the right-hand side of my page, you'll see under strategies at the very bottom is the income strategy. And the income strategy is to show the client taking in an existing investment account and immediately purchasing an annuity. So all I have to do is select an account in blue, and then this screen will pop up. And then I want to select what account I'd like to fund the annuity purchase with. So for example, if I wanted to use, let's just say his IRA, and then here I just walk through the steps on what annuity or what I'm purchasing. So again, the different annuity types and then those distributions. And then once I press confirm, we'll see it added in the strategies. You'll see Adams IRA. And then I just have to put the total dollar amount that's going into the annuity. So I just want to either move that slider or click into that dollar field, and then I can add that. So let's just say $100,000 from his IRA is moving into that annuity that I just structured. And then all I have to do is press refresh. And now that proposed plan on the left is factoring an immediate purchase of that annuity. So again, I just want to repeat that. If you're using the income strategy, it's an immediate purchase of the annuity. So it's happening this year. We also have a way to model it in the future. So all I have to do is click into the edit fields right to the left of refresh at the very bottom right of my page. And then once this screen loads, this will be our add or remove action items. And at the very bottom left, all I have to do is click into the add new items. And then in that drop down, I will see annuity. And then here I can title it whatever I'd like. Again, map out all of the annuity information. And then here I have control over the purchase year. So it will default to immediately, but I can always click on that drop down and have complete control over that timing. So income strategy, immediate purchase, annuity option here is controlling the timing. Again, selecting what account is moving into that annuity and then the different annuity details. So I'm just going to go through that one more time. If I'm in the action items and I'd like to propose an annuity purchase in the future, I just want to go all the way down to the very bottom right and click edit. And then under add or remove action items at the very bottom left, I'm clicking add new items and then clicking into annuity. And then just mapping out all of those details. Awesome. So then another very important thing in the action items here and what we'll see under strategies, if I click back into edit, if I am scrolling down to the strategies option, we also have an annuity allocation. So under strategies, we don't automatically check this off under as a default. So you just have to click back into edit under add or remove action items, just selecting annuity allocation. And then as soon as I press save, we'll see that listed under strategy. And then I can easily show the client moving their annuity allocation to a different model portfolio. So just a reminder, you can always build out your own model portfolios in your advisor portal, and then you'll see them here in the dropdown. So if I wanted to show the client moving to a most aggressive annuity allocation, I can easily make that change in the proposed plan. So lots of things you can do here. Again, income strategy, immediate purchase, you're just selecting a specific account, saving all of the entry here. For example, if I wanted to do an indexed annuity and then I want to make that lifetime income, all of the fields will automatically update. I just have to fill in that information, confirm it, and then here I'm just putting the exact dollar amount that's coming out of his IRA and going into that annuity purchase. And then if I ever want to make an adjustment to that, I just click back into Adam's IRA and that option will pop right back up. And then if I wanted to go back into that edit field next to refresh, and I wanted to compare 3 or 4 different annuity options, I would just do the same thing by clicking add new items, annuity. I would just title the policy name something that allows me to see it in the action items as an indicator on what that policy or that annuity looks like, and then I can just press save. So if I wanted to do, let's for example, number 1, fill out all of the information and then press save. And then I wanted to do scenario 2, I could do the exact same thing where I'll see that listed here. And then if I scroll up to the very top, I just want to point out that you can always create multiple plans. So if you wanted to create one proposed plan with option A and then another proposed plan with option B so that you can compare them side by side, on the right-hand side of my page, next to current plan, above the probability of success, I can click on this add or remove plans icon. That will then open this window where I can add or remove different plans. So at the very bottom left, I just have to click add new plan. It will always default to say new plan. You just have to click on new plan and then retitle it. So if I wanted to do number 1 or scenario number 1, I just have to press that blue check mark to actually save the new name of my annuity plan. and then I just have to press OK. And now on the left-hand side of the page where I see proposed plan above the probability of success, just have to click on that drop down and I can switch over to that scenario 1. And then I can build out those action items to only account for that annuity purchase. And then on the right-hand side, let's say my proposed plan was scenario number 2, I can easily compare and see the impacts to the probability of success. So lots of things you can do here. You can build out as many proposals as you'd like, and then you can easily compare them plan by plan. And then on top of that, we have supporting tabs here like comparison, savings, and retirement details that will give you great visuals, one being our comparisons. So here, this is a great way to see the difference in invested assets, net worth, taxes, as well as assets at retirement if you're comparing those annuity purchases. So for example, if I wanted to look at net worth over time, that will automatically load. And then I should point out at the title of every graph, I always say, be on the lookout for these little downward arrows, because in pretty much every graph within RightCapital, we give multiple, or I should say more information on everything here. So right next to scenario analysis net worth, you'll see that little downward arrow. And again, that is where I'm clicking to switch over between invested assets, net worth, taxes, and assets at retirement. So that's the kind of second step after you've built out the proposal and the probability tab, going over to comparisons, really looking at this detail, and then also the retirement details. So this is very helpful in looking at the income sources. So where are we pulling to go towards expenses? And what's really nice about this graph is on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see an income is stable percentage, and we factor in any annuity, pension, and Social Security income into that income is stable section. So in this case, we'll see with that purchase, 47.9% of the income is stable. So just another great visual on what that will look like. And then again, at the top of this graph, you'll see income sources of scenario number 1. I can click on that downward arrow. I can see the withdrawal rate, and then I can also look at retirement spending. So just another way, or another supporting informational piece when building out these proposals. Awesome. So I just want to go back one more time to that probability. I know there's a lot of moving parts in the action items here, but the main 3 things here is the annuity allocation. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to switch back to that proposed plan that we were working on, just so we go back to that base case. So here in the action items under strategy, first thing is looking at the annuity allocation. Again, that's allowing you to change the model portfolio that you're using in the proposed plan. So it allows you to show a different allocation. So you'll see current allocation based on the information you've entered in the original annuity entry in their profile net worth. And then annuity allocation will allow you to show a different model portfolio being used. Then if you want to show an immediate purchase this year, taking an existing investment account and moving it into an annuity, you can use our income strategy. Again, just selecting the actual select an account, building out the annuity purchase here, and then just pressing confirm. And then this will not be the income that the client is receiving, but the total dollar amount that they are moving from the IRA to fund the annuity. And then if I want to build out an annuity purchase in the future, I'm clicking into the edit field next to refresh. And then at the very bottom left, I'm just clicking add new items and then clicking into annuity. And again, filling out all of those details and then adding it directly to the action items. Awesome. So that really wraps it up on the proposals. Lots of things you can do here. Again, you can build out as many proposed plans as you'd like, and then you can always see the proposed plan in the cash flows as well. So if I wanted to go back over to retirement cash flows, and then once this loads on the right-hand side of my screen, I can click on that current plan dropdown, and I will see all of the proposed plans that I built out. So again, just a great way to look at this on a cash flow level as well.